Okay.
So welcome everybody. This is the Open-Hearted Practice Group with Jori and Jim. And today we're going to be practicing a skill of observing. And I'm really glad that you all are here with us. If you're here with us for the first time, I really want to give you a warm welcome. We've been doing this online practice group here in Maui for about, 11 years. And when the pandemic hit, we moved it online, and we've been here ever since, and really happy at the way that it has created a more global community for us to hang out with every Monday or Tuesday, depending on your point of view. And today is Monday, October the 18th, where Jori and I are, and Tuesday, October the 19th, where some of you are. And we're really glad you're here. Today, we'll start in just a few minutes with a self-connection exercise that will begin the process of helping your brain to assimilate and understand this idea of observing or observation in nonviolent communication. Then while we're doing that, Jori will make small groups for us. So we invite you to check the chat out and look at those requests there if you can. So it'll just help Jori to make small groups that meet your needs so that we can, if you want to practice in another language, for example, or if there's a particular topic area that you want to hang out with other people in. And then after the self-connection exercise and the small group work, we'll come back here in the large group and do a little connecting. And then I've got some little experiments for you to try to sharpen your skills of observing. And then there'll be another chance to go back to breakout rooms and talk about what you're learning here today. And then we'll get back together at the very end of the call to find out what folks are taking away from the call and if you have advice for us, so that next week or the next time we get together, we can make more life-serving choices. Jori, anything you'd like to say just to check in and say how you are?
I'm doing well, but I'm missing some information from you, Jim. I don't have the information on our schedule here. So if you'd send that to me, I sent it to you. I sent you the request, but you didn't respond. And other than that, I'm settling in, and so is my very loud cat. So I'm going to mute.
Okay. All right, good. So I'll send Jori that link here first. So go ahead and get yourself ready for a self-connection exercise. And that means so you can put aside any notes or papers or anything, just because the only instrument that you really need for this exercise is your own body, your own awareness. And you probably will notice that your eyes are probably open, unless you've been to a lot of previous kinds of classes like this, and you might just automatically start closing your eyes. But let's just start with your eyes open. Just take in what you see on the screen there. Here we have people from all over the world represented by little blocks on the screen. I wish we were all here in person. I'm really glad that we can at least gather this way. And then if you'd like, I invite you to close your eyes and just listen for a moment. And then invite you to just notice your breath. And then this particular exercise is a little bit like a visualization rather than a chance just to connect it with your own body. We'll do that at the very end, but I wanted to offer you a stimulus to consider first before you check in with how your body responds to it. So please be at choice with everything that I offer. You can say yes or no to anything. So just imagine that you're sitting in a theater of some sort. Could be a theater for a play or a movie theater, or maybe even your home situation where you have a theater called a television set, something like that. But just imagine that you're somehow in an audience setting, looking at a screen. And then on that screen, you can play any movie that you would like. I would suggest you play a movie of something that you associate with beauty. So just allow a movie to unfold on your screen. Maybe it's a beach or a mountain scene, or just something that contributes to your sense of beauty and well-being. And you're just sitting in the audience watching this movie unfold. And notice how your body feels as you're just sort of sitting in the audience observing this movie. It's very clear to you that you're watching the movie. It's very clear to you that you're just sitting in the audience. Notice what that's like in your body. Maybe there's some sort of a sensation or emotion associated with that. Maybe it's more like a neutral feeling. And then imagine that you can shift and move to the balcony. Or if it's a movie theater, you can go to the projection screen. So now you're really up above it all. So you can see not only the screen, but you can see the audience below you, because you're in the balcony now. The movie continues to unfold, but now you have more of a bird's eye view, more perspective maybe, or more distance. And then check with your body again and notice if there's any change or what you notice now, having this part of the experience. And then just at your own pace, shift back and forth between being in the audience and being in the balcony. Do that back and forth a few times. Just check and see if you notice any difference in sensations or emotions in your body as you do that shift. Sometimes you're in the audience, sometimes you're in the balcony. Then shift again and just imagine that you're an actor in the movie. So if you're sitting by a beach, maybe you see some other people sitting by the beach with you, but you're one of them. So now you're in the movie or on the stage, totally involved with whatever's going on around you. And again, notice what that feels like in your body to be an actor in the movie. Or maybe it's a home movie. You're not really acting, you're just on vacation or traveling. But nevertheless, you're the star of this particular movie. What's that like to have the movie being unfolding around you? And again, check in your body. What kind of feelings are stimulated as you act or be in the movie. And then this one might be a little bit strange to try, but just try it just to see what happens. Let go of the movie and be the screen. Just imagine that you're the screen that the movie is playing out on. If that doesn't make any sense to you, just let it go. But see what it's like if you are just present, being the screen, noticing there's a movie happening on you or in you or on you. You're also aware that there's an audience. There's a projector or a balcony. But you're just the screen. Notice what that feels like. And then let all that go and choose, where do you want to be right now? Do you want to be the screen? Do you want to be in the balcony? Do you want to be in the movie? Do you want to be in the audience? There's no right or wrong. It's just some choices. Where do you want to put your presence? And notice what it's like to own that choice. You have some choice about where you focus your attention, your being. And one final body check. Just notice what you're feeling right now in your body as this exercise starts to come to an end. And whatever you find in terms of feelings or needs in your body, just greet them with warmth. There's no right feeling, no wrong feeling. There's just whatever it is that you are feeling. And you notice that it changes. So first notice it, name it, if you like, what it is that you're feeling. Allow it to be with warmth. If your eyes have been closed, you can let them open. Maybe jiggle your body a little bit, kind of re-engage with, with the fact that you're in a Zoom class with Jim and Jori, and now up to 76 of us are gathered here. If you came in during the exercise, I'm really glad you're here. And Jori, are you ready to put folks into a small group? Oh, can't hear you yet, Jori.
Okay, I think I've sorted people by language groups that you have indicated. And if you find yourself in a language group that is not working for you, come back to the main room. And we have, in terms of language groups, actually only one, and that is Japanese at this point. But if there's another language, please let us know and we'll try and put you together. And with that, let's see. How long is this, Jim?
You're muted. The standard 9 minutes plus 2.
Okay.
Everybody has about 3 minutes. And the idea is you just introduce yourself, and then just say what your reaction is to this exercise that you just did, this practice. What you took away from it, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, anything that you want to say about it. So when you're speaking, you have about 2 or 3 minutes to express. And if you're just listening, then just listen with silent presence, silent empathy. And we'll see you all back here in about 11 minutes.
Okay, and here you go. All the people who came in later, I am putting you into rooms right now. So as far as I can tell now, everybody has been assigned. We are groups of 3. And we've got 2, 4, 6 people who are not wanting to be in groups.
Okay, and I know you were busy with the self-connection, I mean, with your groups. Some people were complaining that my voice was breaking up. Did you notice anything?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So oil lamp Denise never puts another language after her. So I just put her into a room.
Yeah.
And she's in a room with Sharona.
Okay, but
which is
Shizuka needs to go,
Mandarin, and
sorry, Shizuka needs to go to a Japanese room. She's in room 5.
Where?
Right? Room 5.
Okay. And just move her
Yeah.
without
She
asking.
speaks a word of English.
Okay. Then she will go to room 26. Shizuki, where is she? Shizuki, what room was she in?
5.
5. And move her to, I think I said 23. Yeah.
Nope, 23 is not the Japanese room.
Okay, I'll move her
26.
again. Don't
26.
Worry. Okay. Well, she didn't go. There she is. Suzuki goes to 26. This should be pretty strange for her. She's going all over the place. Okay.
Yeah.
There she goes. Okay. We've got 4 Japanese. Got mostly rooms of 3, except for room 5. An oil lamp. She puts these letters in front of her name, but I don't know what that means.
That's her Chinese name. She speaks Chinese, but she lives in Canada.
Okay. And so she is in there with Sharona, which I thought, well, at least I'll be there. And then someone else is in there that doesn't speak China from, there's one group of 2 now. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's because we moved Shakura.
Yeah. Okay.
So if
All
anybody
right.
who arrives, we'll put them into room 5.
Okay. And do I have the agenda link? Did you? Oh, yeah, I got it. Never mind. No, is that it?
I put it into the chat. It's in the chat.
Oh, I've got it. I've got it open on my computer. I'm sorry for the extra work for you. It's sitting here right in front of me. Feel a little overwhelmed. I don't know if you want to know about the meeting I had, but I did finally get a meeting or set up a meeting.
Okay. With the Terminix for people?
Yeah. Got to talk to the guy directly, have his number directly now. I'm in this moment enjoying that you just take the lead. That's great.
All right, I'm just doing a test on my microphone, so looks like it's good and strong.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Sometimes the internet does get wobbly. I've gotten a couple of messages that I had a weak internet connection.
Mhm.
And I go and make sure nothing else is on. It could be sucking any bandwidth.
Huh. Yeah, but it disappeared. Let's see if I can go back. Oh, that's too, no. That's so weird. What happened to, oh, there it is. There's so many things open. I think most of them you left open when you were on my computer. I don't know what they are yet, so I don't want to close them. But it's pretty crazy.
I didn't, is there something you need me to know? Because I was doing something else. I didn't hear what you said.
No. I'm fine. Ah, it's Tejal from India. There's a Tejal in Maui too.
Yeah, and remember Tejal from New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
She was.
Oh, in New Mexico, you're right. I wasn't actually talking to you. I was talking to Tejal here, but you're right. It was New Mexico.
And here comes somebody new, looks like. There's
Oh,
only
yeah?
1 minute left, so I think we'll just leave them here with us.
Yes. For 1 minute, about 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
But this, there's nothing happening there. That's interesting.
Oh,
Oh, there he is. Isa.
Hi, Isa. Welcome.
Hi, Isa. Look at that smile.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. It's a big smile. Good to see you, Isa.
Isa, folks, it's either a very small group or most people are in small groups. So it's the latter. Almost everybody is in a small group right now, and they'll be back here in about 2.5 minutes.
And Jim, am I frozen? Because you are. You were. I could hear your voice, but your video was frozen.
Okay.
And that sometimes happens because it's my video or something on my end. So I don't know.
That's a real challenge.
And what are you looking up at? You look like you're looking up at the sky.
Oh, well, this is me looking into the camera.
Yeah.
Right. And this is me looking at my computer. Sometimes I have to glance.
Yeah, that looks like you're looking up into the sky.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. There comes the break.
So a few people are coming back, but everyone else will be back in about 2 minutes.
I'm enjoying your smile, Suzanne.
I accidentally pressed the leave breakout room.
I know. We go on automatic. No, that's why.
We're all very obedient to buttons. We're supposed to push.
I don't know what to say about my feeling. Oh my goodness. I leave the two gentlemen behind. Oh dear. Oh.
So everyone will be back in what, about less than a minute. Everyone will be back. It's just kind of fun to see people arriving back. I get to see more people as they each.
Yeah. Hi, Jan's daughter, I guess. Hi. Hi, two of them. Surrounded by beautiful women. Hi, Jan.
Yen.
Yen. Sorry. I'm lucky when I can pronounce my own name right sometimes. So forgive me.
About 10 more seconds, everyone will be back. And you've got the ball, Jori, for the debrief.
I'll try and catch them as they come. Yep, there we go. Almost. Ah. Welcome back to the main room, almost everybody at this point. And I'd love to hear if there's any feedback about the exercises so far. The exercise of that Jim led and the exercise of being in your group. Anything want to be shared? Don't all yell at once.
If you want to share, you can either raise your hand like Ching Ching just did, which you can do by pushing on the reaction button on the bottom of your screen. There's a raise hand there. That's the best way. But you can also do like this. We can see half of you, but we can't see all of you, so it's not the most reliable strategy.
And what he means by that is there are two screens. Yeah.
Ching Ching.
So Ching Ching.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Jori. This exercise is interesting. I quite surprised to see how our mind can wander to many places in our imagination, while our body is really right here. And I love to see the way that when I'm in the balcony, it reminds me of the way that do not take it personally things. When the situation happens and we see the whole picture from the balcony, and it can make me see how the actor and the other person feels or their needs better, because it's the whole picture. Whereas when I'm in the actor role or actress role, it's like we emerge in the role and tend to see the way how we feel and need more than the other person feelings and need. Then the whole picture from the balcony is more peaceful for me to see what's going on from others' aspect too. Thank you.
Thank you for that clear expression of your experience. Thank you so much, Ching Ching. And Beth?
Yeah, I was just really impressed with my partner, the way she expressed how these three areas of stress in her life, with three different categories, and how she could see them. And then when you said to step back, she set these little hearts on each of these categories, these three pictures that she had that were causing her stress, and it just gave her such blessing. And it was just like, yeah, I was just really impressed with her imagery and how she was able to express it. Thank you.
Oh, sweet. You got not only to walk with your own experience, but you got to really walk with hers. That's sweet. Thank you. And there's Sandy. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, I really liked this. What Ching Ching was saying said a lot of what I was thinking too, and being able to just distance ourselves. I like the idea of if something's coming at you that's not pleasant, or something's not good, you can be the screen. And just because something's projected onto you from someone else, or you onto your own mind, does not mean to you. That's, like an image of a video of a fire on the screen doesn't mean your screen's on fire. Just that's what's been projected, but there's a separation between the two.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. And we'll move to Vera.
Hi, hello. It's very interesting to reflect and experience this exercise. Yeah, so I've just internalized myself by applying that to me, that I am the movie now, with all that is happening, with all the emotions that are intense in me. I am the movie now, but I choose to be. I know I don't choose to be. I'm sorry, I don't make any intentions. I have no brain. I don't choose to be, but I think if life takes me to be an audience, because from the movie I slip into audience, and maybe after being an audience, I may become into a balcony, because yeah, that's enough, and then come back to be a screen, and then finally that's the screen I hold. The dance of the life can pass through me, through the screen, and what happens to the life, but I'm just holding this life as a screen, untouched, unmoved, neutral, just a camera as an observer. Thank you so much for this exercise, and thank my body, my intelligence to internalize me the way I look at the world now. Thank you. Love you all.
Thank you. And Sterling?
I surprised myself because I placed myself in the back row near the aisle so I could go and get some popcorn. Wasn't going to take anybody's direction on where to go, and that's a usual resist whatever I'm told position. And then after acknowledging that, I readily went all over, and I went through the screen, and my show was the Anne of Green Gables, and I was the old man picking up Anne and falling in love with her as this articulate little girl, and I was just watering my eyes as I was listening to her, being amazed with the beauty all around her, much like the beauty of the scenes that you were first talking about. And I was quite amazed that I went along with the exercise and really liked it.
You actually didn't expect that, did you?
I didn't expect that of myself, no.
And you're glad you did, and I'm glad you were willing to share that experience. Thank you.
Two more, please, Jori.
Yes, Deborah, and then Janet after.
Thank you. Well, I just went with the experience, and I didn't want to think about what each one, didn't want to dwell on what each one might represent. Mm-hmm. I just decided I would just experience what I felt in each situation, and found it interesting how I reacted to some things in comparison to the others. I didn't have a particular movie in mind. I'm not always that quick of recalling movies and immersing myself in it. So I went into nature. I just remembered, when you're at Disneyland and you're in that seat that sort of moves and you're kind of flying through this whole experience. And I went with that sort of thing, which is very peaceful. Mm-hmm. I realized as we were ending that you decided to give us a lot of choices, that this was an opportunity to realize there are many choices in our life and how wonderful that is, and that it was also an experience of observation, since that's the theme of this was different ways of observing things. So that's what I got from it.
And thank you so much. And I'm also celebrating that at some point something was said and an instruction was given and it didn't actually resonate for you. So you took your own path, staying with it. So just wanted to highlight that, appreciating it. Thank you, Deborah. And Janet.
Oh, yeah, I actually missed the visualization, but I have a question about a book that I think you've written. It came up as in the discussion we're having in the group, and I'm looking for it and I'm not finding it. Maybe I don't have the, maybe I'm not getting the title right, but it has to do with the steps of the nonviolent communication.
Yes.
What is that book, or where is it sold?
It's called,
Yeah.
go ahead, Jori.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
I was just gonna say it's called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication, and we'll give you a link at the end of the call of some ways that you can order it. And so we will certainly make sure that that you can get it at the end of the call. Pathways to
All right.
Nonviolent Communication. And it's actually the subject of our whole the series that we're doing right now on this practice group. And last week we covered the last 2 weeks we covered the first of the skills, which we named presence. And this week we're working on the skill of observing. So I'm going to share my screen with you all. So that's the name of the skill, observing. So I'm just going to put the definition up first. This is the definition from the Pathways. And I'll read it for folks that might be on the phone or listening to the recording. Noticing and possibly describing our sensory and mental experiences, and distinguishing these experiences from the interpretations we ascribe to them. And I've gotten some feedback that some people are observing that my voice is difficult, and other people are letting me know that it's fine. So I'm not quite sure what to do about that. I tested the microphone before while you guys were in the small group, and it seemed to be working okay. So I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of talking. It's I just got a little message that my internet connection is unstable. So I'll just wait just a second. So just in case this is your first time being here, Jori and I live in the middle of nowhere. We live in Maui, which is one of the most remote places on the planet. We're 2,500 miles away from the mainland of the United States in this teeny tiny speck in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And sometimes we get better internet than other times. So I regret anything that is not as clear as we would like. So we're going to look at some practices now. And so this is going to be a great chance for you just to practice some observing. So here comes the very first practice. So the idea here is just watch and see what happens. That's the instruction. Watch and see what happens. There's no sound except a buzz. So what did you see? Write down your answer. I'll be quiet for about 3 or 4 minutes while you answer the question. What did you see? About 45 more seconds. About 10 more seconds. And Jori.
Go ahead and carry that, Jim. I'm taking
Okay.
care of something.
So
else.
who would like to share? What did you, who would like to share what you wrote down? Just raise your hand if you're willing to share what you wrote down and answer the question, what did you see? No right answers here. You're just reporting your own experience. Okay, we'll go, okay, we got 4 people. That will be enough for this exercise. I want to make sure we have time for all of them. So we'll start with Pooja. So unmute yourself, Pooja, and then we'll go to Holly after you're done. Pooja.
Sure. So what I saw was 2 triangles and a ball that were going in and out of a structure and broke free from the structure eventually.
Okay, thank you. And Holly?
Okay, I had to write fast. So I wrote circle in a box with the door, 2 triangles, one's larger than the other, moving around. Bigger triangle opens door to the box and goes in. Circle in the box moves away from the triangle. Finally, circle goes out of the box through the door, joins small triangle. Big triangle goes out of the box. The other 2 things run away. Couldn't write fast enough anyway. Big triangle starts touching the walls of the box. Box starts breaking up.
Thanks,
That's
Holly.
mine.
Richard, what'd you write?
Okay, shapes were trying different positions together and alone, inside and outside. That's it.
Okay, thanks. And if those of you who shared would put your what you wrote into the chat, that will help me in the last part of the exercise. Karen.
I think mine sounded a lot like Holly's. I saw a rectangle with a small triangle inside and a big triangle and a circle come. The triangle comes out and they all moved around. The circle goes in and a small triangle goes in, and then they come out, they move around rapidly, and then a big triangle breaks the wall.
Okay, thanks. Tanya.
I didn't try to write down what the movements were of the triangles and the circle and the straight lines. I didn't go there, but what I did notice was that as I was watching, my mind kept telling a story about what things were going on, and I go back and forth between, okay, what am I actually seeing? Objects moving in a space, and how evoked all this emotion from me. Like, it looked like they were chasing each other and one was trying to save each other. And I hear that story and then I go back to looking. So it was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Tanya. Jennifer, and then we'll finish with Judith.
I saw 2 triangles and a ball and a box that had a hinged side that could open at the corner. The big triangle pushed out of the box, at least I think by then I'd remembered that, but I might be wrong, and appeared to chase the small triangle while the ball opened the side, went in but stayed at the entrance without closing the side, then did close it. The big triangle then came in, and then the small one, then the ball and small one went out, and the big one pushed the sides of the box apart.
Thank you. And finishing up with Judith. Oops, you're still on mute, Judith, so I'm missing what you're saying.
I didn't write it down, but I think I can recant what I remember. I also made a story out of it. So the big triangle stood at the opening of the box and noticed the small triangle and the small dot. And the big triangle started chasing after the small triangle. In the meantime, the dot ran around the box. And while the big triangle and the small triangle were interacting in conflict, it went into the box. I want to say it snuck into the box, but again, that would be projecting story. So after a time, the big triangle came back into its box and then noticed the dot, and it chased around and chased the dot out of the box. And then there was some more commotion. And then finally, and I don't remember the exact things all three did, but at the end, the big triangle settled down for a bit, and then it started to push aside, I want to say dismantle, but that would project story. It started to push aside the top pieces of the box.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
You have a fantastic memory. I want to be like you when I grow up. Wow.
Me too. I'm impressed.
And so I hear that many of you got the point of the exercise without me having to say it, which was my hope, that you were able to see the difference between what you actually saw, which was, at the observational level, actually the most subtle observational level, there were pixels on a computer screen. That would be the observation, right? And then at a slightly more, a different way of looking at it, it would be, there were circles and triangles moving around in various configurations, and sometimes the lines created a box and sometimes the lines didn't create a box. And so that would be another way of making the observation. And then the evaluation part would be so if you look at what you wrote, if there's anything that looks like an adjective or an action like chased, or an adverb like violently or quickly, all those are evaluations. There's nothing wrong with evaluations. What this exercise really shows me is exactly what Tanya said, that we human beings, we want a story. And so we will make it up. And so it's very common that people will make up a story about bullies or some sort of a story about what's actually, what they think they're actually seeing in this little movie. The movie was designed in 1944, so almost 75, 80 years ago or something like that. And there was some psychologists, social scientists who were discovering something called social inference. Social inference. And so this is the activity of our brain. We have, based on our memory and our previous experience of learning, we infer the meaning of what we see or hear or smell or taste or touch. That inference, that meaning, is what we would call an evaluation in nonviolent communication. And again, there's nothing wrong with evaluations. You have to have evaluations, otherwise you wouldn't know when to get off the bus, or even how to get onto the bus, or even what a bus was. And so it's just a skill to begin to be able to make the difference between the raw material of what we see, hear, smell, taste, or touch, and then anything we add to it in terms of evaluation. So that's the first experiment. So let's go on to the second one. So let me share my screen again. I'll try to make it a little bit bigger this time. So practice number 2. If you have seen this one before, just watch it again and see what happens to you. Again, just watch and follow the instructions this time.
This is a test of selective attention. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count? Correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla? This video is from research by Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabris and is copyrighted. It is available for use in talks, training, and teaching on DVDs from VisCog Production.
Okay, now who wants to share? Who did anybody not see the gorilla? That would be what I would really, I didn't see the gorilla the first time I did it. And raise your hand if you did not see the gorilla and you're willing to talk about how you feel once then the gorilla was revealed to you. Jori, would you be willing to speak? I can't tell if these are all, okay, Patricia, that's a new hand. Go ahead, Patricia.
Since I know you like video when we talk. Yeah, I felt like an idiot. I didn't see the gorilla. when the guy says, did anybody see the gorilla? Or you said it, somebody said, I don't know who, and I thought, what gorilla? And when it was replayed, I thought, oh my God, there really was a gorilla. I'm such an idiot.
Yeah, so you kind of judged yourself. You decided to
Of course.
yourself and your intelligence. And
Yeah.
we'll explain why that judgment is natural and also unnecessary. And also how, well, I don't want to say anymore. Let's listen to Sterling.
I think also the judgment is habitual and it's a reflex, and it's habitual, but it's not a judgment, oh, bad girl. It's a judgment, oh, silly girl.
Yeah,
you
kind of a friendly, warm judgment. Those are my
friendly, yes. Yeah,
thank you. Sterling, then Nikhilananda.
Okay, I was going to write down with a little stroke to keep track of it, and I only got 8 out of the 15. And I absolutely did not see the gorilla, and I was just so amused that I was so focused on the task that somebody gave me that I missed, completely missed. It was funny.
Right. Thank you. And Nikhilananda?
Right. Well, all of a sudden I feel better because I also saw 8 passes, and I thought that there must have been more than 8 passes, and I didn't see any gorilla, and I'm not sure there was a gorilla, though some people might have seen it. They might have done it at the end, and I wasn't told to look for a gorilla. My job was to look for the white people in white rather, passing the ball.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Cheryl, and then we'll finish with Deborah, and I'll say a couple of words.
I was just so proud of myself that I got 15. When I was coming up with my number, I thought, well, maybe I should add one more because maybe I missed one, but no, 15 is what I saw. and then when we learned about the gorilla, I was like, what? How could I not have seen that? So I went from thinking I was so great to what? It was really interesting. It was Such a great exercise. Thank you.
Thank you. And Deborah?
Well, I remembered afterwards that I had seen this before, and I agree with Sterling. It was funny to realize I'd missed the gorilla, but it also showed me the power of our focus, that we can focus so intensely on something and we'll miss other things. There's a good thing to have that kind of intensity in your focus. It's useful where it's needed, but then it reminds us that it's very narrow and we are missing other things. So don't want to rely upon it all the time. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, did anybody see the gorilla and really want to celebrate? Tanya, I saw you have your hand up, but that was before I asked the question, but you can share anything you want to share.
What really strikes home into my heart is the power of misdirection. And of course, I'm going to go here now, Jim, on systemic oppression. We are all constantly misdirected, constantly misdirected on how to observe. So that's what I saw in this.
Yes, the phenomenon that Tanya is talking about, that the word that psychologists use to describe what happened to you is called priming. Priming, P-R-I-M-I-N-G. And priming was actually an important part of this exercise because there was a specific written instruction of where to place your focus. And so that was like an operating instruction for your brain. And so almost I think that the percentage is something like 85% of the people who see this video for the first time don't see the gorilla. And they all had that similar experience to you of, wow, I missed something. But you're always missing something. In fact, from moment to moment, I think the number is 40 million, last time I checked. Every second, about 40 million pieces of data are being processed by your brain. 40 million. And you are paying attention to 24. 24 out of 40 million. So we're all mostly unconscious of what's going on around us. And for me, it's a reminder of the power of intention. That if I want to focus on connection, then I need to prime that in myself. So that's what we call the 0 step, and we'll talk about it more as we keep going. But before I enter into a empathy session or an honesty session or a mediation or any kind of a thing, I do the best I can to prime myself by setting my intention. What is it that I want to pay attention to? Well, instead of basketballs being passed, I find it most helpful to pay attention to needs. And we'll talk more about needs as we keep going over the course of these next few weeks. But needs are these universal human qualities that we all share. And since we all share them, it's an opportunity to support connection with the people that I'm listening to and the people that are listening to me. So now there's another little exercise. Jori, anything you want to add about any of this so far? Okay, so now this one's just a visual. I'm just going to put it on the screen, and the idea is that you just look at it. And so that's your only instruction is, oh, there's one other thing I want to say about priming. This is, and it relates to what Tanya said about the danger of certain systems that we live within. And that is, if you think about the training of a police officer, their training is to, I'm sure it's a very complex training process, but one thing that they're primed to pay attention for is the presence of weapons. So when they're interacting, when police officers are interacting with a citizen, then there's a part of their brain that is scanning and primed to look for weapons. And that has had the unfortunate effect of more times than I would want to recount of someone being killed or injured terribly because a police officer doing the best they can to do their job saw a gun when really it was a water pistol or a cell phone or a cigarette lighter or 10,000 other things, because we don't see the world as it really is. We see the world as we are predicting we will see. And so for me, it's just about being aware of what's going on in our brains and then being kind of cautious about what I might do with that information. So here's another one to look at.
And before you go forward, I see Tanya has her hand up. I don't know if you wanted to say more or.
No, I just neglected to take it down. Thank you so much, Jori, for noticing.
Okay, whoops. I got to share the screen with you again. Sorry, I have to go back here. Okay, so the idea here is just look at this and notice what happens in your body. I'll just leave it up on the screen for about 30 seconds. So what you're experiencing, the technical term for it is you're observing ambiguity. Your brain probably, unless you've seen this particular image before, your brain can't figure out what's going on. Maybe your brain's trying to make up a story about it, or maybe it's like a Rorschach ink blot test, or maybe, you know, what's going on here is what your brain is doing. And so now there's two images, and see if you can see the relationship between these two images. So a couple of things to notice is that they have they've reversed the contrast. So the things that are light in the top image are dark in the bottom image. We've lost a lot of detail in the bottom image compared to the top image. But if you hang out with it long enough, you'll begin to see certain things, like here's the outline of the wing here. And here's the kind of the fuzzy bits. And these are little parts of the legs. And here's the tail end of the bee down here in the lower left. Okay, and now you go back to the first image again. And now you can probably see a lot of that detail, even though it's not there because you have a memory. Your brain has processed and created a quality of clarity. You just saw something, you got more clear on it, and then you can never see it the old way again. So anybody would like to share anything about that? Go ahead, Margaret.
I'm not sure why, but I recognize what it was from the negative image, and I'd never seen it before.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's very interesting. You must have a very interesting brain to live with.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Yeah, Sterling.
I saw two pairs of eyes and then put the shape around there. But I'm always looking at faces and eyes and finding eyes all and faces everywhere.
Yeah. Thank you. That's actually a very important thing about the way the human brain works, is our brains are primed genetically to look for patterns, especially facial patterns. And so we get a lot of nonverbal communication. That's the other NVC. We get a lot of nonverbal communication through patterns we see in other people's faces. And depending on the culture that we live in, we interpret those patterns in different ways. And we can get into some cross-cultural conflict because we think that we know what the other person means when their face looks a certain way, when they actually might be sending a completely different message. And I don't have any great detail about that, but I can tell you that when we were living in New Mexico, we learned some feedback about, and I think we also learned this in Asia, about the nonverbal, about how to point and what's appropriate and inappropriate in certain cultures about pointing. Here in the West and at least in the United States, it's really common to point your fingers. And in Navajo land, you would never point with your fingers. You would always point with your nose. And so it's these learning about cultural clues can be a real important guide to cultural connection. Sue, and then Jennifer. Sue, go ahead.
There. Well, when I saw it, so kind of a reverse thing. Well, I was looking at it and said, okay, it's really nothing. And I felt almost a weird, like a little pride in myself, like it's nothing. I'm not trying to make any meaning out of it. So good for me. And then when the bee picture comes, I'm like, oh, it actually is something. So I was actually tossing it out. So because I felt I was being neutral and not reading into it. So then that's like the opposite. Oh, I might be missing something, thinking it's nothing. So anyway, yeah, I was quite surprised to see the bee was so obvious.
Yeah, thank you. And Jennifer, and then Deborah.
I could see that the picture was totally ambiguous, and nothing, at that stage there was no idea of what it was about. But I was so anxious that it was ambiguous. I didn't know whether I was. I didn't know what the picture was about. It wasn't as whether I knew it or not. I just was anxious. Then when I saw immediately the bee when you put it on, but I actually could revert when you then showed us the other one. I could revert B or the other or the ambiguous. I didn't have any trouble seeing it ambiguous again. So what you said at the end, you can't see it as you did before, wasn't true for me. I could.
Right. Great. Thank you. Deborah, and then we'll finish with Karen.
Well, I avoided the temptation to try to make sense of it, since the instruction I recalled was how did I feel inside my body looking at it. And I felt a lot of discomfort and there was an anxiety feeling. So clearly my brain does not like ambiguity. That is an instinctual thing that I'm going to have an adverse reaction to it. And that's very insightful to be aware of that. And then when I did see the bee picture, I felt very comfortable. My brain really likes knowing what I'm looking at. And of course, it was easier than to see the ambiguous picture because now I knew what it was representing.
Right. And then you noticed your whole body kind of relaxed. Ambiguity
Yes.
can lead to anxiety, and clarity can lead to peace. Yeah, thank you. And Karen?
I disregarded your direction.
Good.
No, my mind was took over. I mean, your direction to pay attention to how I felt, that got left in the dust because the mind had a job. And the mind just ran away with this. And there's that one shape that I thought, oh, I recognize that one shape. It's a cat's ear. I know it's a cat. And then I saw some fuzzy part. I thought there's another part of the cat. I couldn't figure out it went together, but I watched myself perseverate all the way through that I was going to get a cat out of that. So that tells me something about me too.
Yeah, I'm making a prediction that your brain likes cats.
Well, at least maybe this time I did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it was the perseveration.
Yeah.
Like when I'm looking for a paper clip and I open the junk drawer and I look for a paper clip. I don't see anything else in the drawer except whether there's a paper clip in there. And I can close the door and not name anything I've seen.
Right.
Because I'm only looking for a paper clip. Well, I was looking for a cat. So anyway.
Exactly. Another example of priming. Thank you. Very important. So we will see what we expect to see. And in the face of ambiguity, we'll make up a story. Sarah Joy.
Well, I looked at it at first and I was a little bit disoriented, but my mind usually goes into my imagination to fill in the spaces and figure out what it was. And probably that's because my sister's an art photographer who does on purpose, takes photographs that are not quite in focus and allows the viewer to use their imagination to sense what the feeling is. And so, I was trying to do that. So I wasn't surprised when it was a bee. And I think I was relaxed, happy to see that. But I was, trying to figure out what it was while I was there, watching it at first. But I wasn't, I lost that feeling of discomfort at the very beginning, the disorientation feeling, when I remembered that I could use my imagination.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, one more little experiment before we make it more practical. And so let me go back to share my screen with you again. This one is an audio one because, the whole idea of observing is that, that we're using all 5 of our senses in order to navigate the world. Human beings, by our nature, are kind of visually biased. And so more of our brain bits go to the visual, but these other channels of information are equally important. So I want to also share one audio example. So let me do that. You might have heard this one. This was going around the internet last year. And so here we go. Oops, wrong button. Isn't that interesting? Every once in a while, Zoom seems to have my evaluation is that Zoom has a mind of its own, but I'm sure I just pushed the wrong button. Here we go.
Do you hear Yanny?
Laurel. Laurel.
Or Laurel?
Laurel. Laurel.
Okay. So write down what you heard. And then we'll just see if you guys are about what is normal. And we'll explain what's going on neurologically. How many, raise your hand, I can't see everybody, but I'll page through my screen. How many of you heard Laurel? Raise your hand like this so I can see you. Yeah, keep them up so I can look at the other page too. Oh, there's not very many cameras on over there. Okay, and then how many of you heard Yanny? Okay, that looks about right. It's pretty close to 50-50 is when they do this over large populations, 50-50. And so what's going on here, the way that it breaks out is your brain isn't actually seeing or hearing the world. Your brain is interpreting and constructing a world. And you are limited by your neurology. So if you think about all the possible spectrum of the what's called the electromagnetic frequency, which is everything from the ultraviolet to the infrared, we human beings can connect in about 4% of the entire electromagnetic spectrum on average. So we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, very little bit of the universe. And then secondly, as we age, our brains and our sensory systems change. So older people like me tend to hear Laurel, and younger people tend to hear Yanni. Some people hear something completely different. Some people can hear both. And some people hear one thing at first, then when they hear the other one, they can never go back to the other one again. So everybody has different kinds of experiences. And there's a couple hands up, and let's find out what Sue and Judith want to say. First, Sue.
Oh, is my hand up?
Yeah, but if you don't want to talk, you can put it down.
Well, I'll take it. I saw Yami and Laurel, and then I heard an instruction to listen. So I heard Yami as instructed to be listening to, but I heard him use the word Laurel. So, and then I didn't, when you first asked me about what did I hear? Well, I heard Yami, but he did say Laurel. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what we're doing. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I heard it, but I also thought I heard an instruction. So I was listening, and until you asked, did I hear Laurel? I just think I mostly heard Yami.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to share anything? I want to have one more practice here. This is more, Jori, did you want to lead this last practice or you want me to keep going? Go ahead, Judith.
I'm fine with you doing it, Jim. I'm just enjoying all what I experience as fun as we're exploring this. So thank you.
Go ahead, Judith. Oops, you muted yourself accidentally, I think.
Did they? I thought I heard Yanni once and Laurel twice. Did that happen?
It happened for you. It happened for you.
Okay.
So that's a very important point about observation. Go ahead, Jori.
What really happened?
Yeah. So you're not the only one who's had that experience. And still they're making the same sound and we're hearing it differently, which is mind-blowing to me.
But what sounds did they make?
Well, that's a complicated question. And in the notes for the class, there is the rest of this YouTube video. I don't want to take time for you to watch it, but you can watch the rest of the video where they talk about what's actually seems to be there. But the point for me is that an observation is what we see and what we hear. So you can imagine a polarized debate at the Thanksgiving table if all the young people heard Yanni and all the older people heard Laurel. You can have a big fight over what was really heard or said. And so this is actually at the heart of much of the polarity that we experience. And what I long for is us to build a heart and a mind big enough so that you can hear Laurel and I can hear Yanni and we can live in peace. So I don't need to convince you that it was Yanni or Laurel. And I think I've said it. I think I got my point across. Holly, was there something else you wanted to add?
Well, I was just going to make a joke. I was just going to say now there's so much self-doubt, I can't trust anything I see and hear. But that was just a joke.
Beautiful.
Too true. Yeah.
Margaret, then we'll do the last practice.
Yeah, no, I thought it was very interesting because again, my mind went to what's the right thing to hear? What's the wrong thing? And then I realized the polarity and yeah, no, very good illustration. Thank you.
Very welcome. Okay, so now here's an exercise from Marshall. Marshall Rosenberg is the guy that started Nonviolent Communication. And so I did a little research for this class, and I found the exercise that we learned when we first learned with Marshall, this distinction between observation and evaluation. So first, think of something that someone does that makes life less than wonderful for you. Think of something that someone does that makes life less than wonderful for you. And then write down one thing that they do. I'll put that into the chat. Think of something that someone does that makes life less than wonderful for you. Write down just one thing that they do. Okay, now I'd like to propose that you go back to groups for 15 minutes and support and learn from each other. See if you can make the distinction in what you wrote between the observation that might be in there and the evaluation that might be in there. And if you want support from other people in your group, you can ask it, but see if you can avoid the temptation of offering advice unless you're asked. So that might be the stretch for some of us, certainly would be for me if I was in a small group. So listen to the other person express what happened to them that they didn't like that the other person did. And then see if you can be a supportive presence for them as they unpack the observation in the one hand and the evaluation in the other. And we'll do this for 13 minutes plus 2, Jori. 13 plus 2. So we have 15 minutes to do this. So everybody has about 5 minutes to explore and to connect. If you get finished with that, then you can just talk about your experience with the whole practice group today with one another.
Okay, well, for some reason I got kicked off and I had to restart my computer, but that means that there's some moving around I need to do here because I don't have that. So give me another moment. That was kind of shocking.
Yeah, I bet. And so while Jori does that, is there anybody that would like to share what you wrote as something that somebody did? I'm going to pick on John since he's
I'm going to interrupt you, Jim, because I think we're ready to go here.
Okay, great.
How's that?
All right.
Okay. Some people, my internet is unstable. Yours also?
Mine seems to be okay in the moment, but we can hear you fine.
Okay. All right, I think we're ready to go.
So we'll do this for 15 minutes. Make sure you change the timer to 13 plus 2.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
We might be moving. We might be
bear with me. Yeah, if I need to shuffle you around a little bit. I think there are some people who came and went. So well, I'll work on that. So just patient. All right. Ready? Whoops. Do you see some people who decided they didn't want to be in groups? Okay, go ahead. Keep talking, Jim.
So John, would you be willing to share what you wrote down?
So I wrote it in my head. A woman walks her dog down the path off leash, does not see that her dog poops in random places, and does not pick up after her dog.
Yeah. Does anybody have a trouble making a picture of that? I mean, as disgusting as the picture might be, right?
Okay.
Okay. So that's one of the points of observation, just to finish up this little piece with John, is that when we're sharing our observation with other people, We wanted them to be able to make a clear picture or sound image of what we are expressing. So that's going to require us to have some specificity and clarity about making our observation. Okay, Jori.
Okay, cross fingers. I'll put you in your rooms, and if you have come in and out, I'll have to put you in again.
Here comes everybody.
Can I finish a sentence to CC?
Sure, go ahead.
But I forgot his name. He's the person about the dog poop.
Oh, that's John. That's John.
John. So you made the observation that everyone heard, and it made your life less wonderful because you didn't like it. And that was all. And you didn't really make judgment unless you played with it in your mind, but fully aware that it was judgment. So it was really that you just didn't like it. Is that right?
Yeah. I've been playing a game for decades called Why Else Would They Do That? So whenever someone does something that I find challenging in any way, like they cut me off in traffic, oh, maybe they're on their way to the hospital, like why else would they do it? And I could see all sorts of reasons that she has these sets of behaviors that I don't enjoy. So it's hard for me to go into judgment of just saying blanket statement, she's a bad person or she's inconsiderate or whatever.
Thanks. Is that complete for you, Lisa?
That's nice. Yeah, that's lovely that you keep the judgment separate.
So last step of today is to share what you're taking away. And you can do that in the chat. That'd probably be the most effective way. So what's the lesson that you're taking away that you think you'll be able to apply in your life from now on? What's the lesson that you're taking away that you think you can apply in your life from now on? And I'll read a few of these. Famous line from the movie Labyrinth: things aren't always what they seem in this place. Appreciation for John. That's a very useful tool. Thanks, John. Minako from Japan. I think I've been evaluated. It was interesting to see that behind this was a relationship I had before the event. My needs at the time and the values I had, which had great impact. Complex. Don't take it as an observation, but understanding it as a state of the other person. And just for those of you who haven't met Minako, she's a native Japanese speaker, and she's using translation software to stay with us and share what's alive in her. That even when I think I'm observing, I'm often not really observing. Yeah, we're creating. Go for empathy, empathy, empathy. Did I hear you? What did you hear from me? Give others the benefit of the doubt. See another possibility. Dissolving enemy image by practicing observation. And Nikhilananda gives you a link to the gorilla experiment that we saw. I don't really know what's happening, so should be aware of my desire to make sense or a judgment about it. That not knowing is, congratulations, you've just reached Zen enlightenment, Sue. So many people spend a long time in Zendos trying to get to what you got, which is we don't really know what's going on. We're just open to experience. Oh, I love what Leela wrote. I think it's
Before you read any more, you can end up here. Julia?
Yeah, Juliana. Go ahead, Juliana. Let's hear a real voice.
So I love this, Jim, what you said. And observation is what I see and what I hear. And so you see what you see and I see what I see. and it's okay, and we can still live, and that is your reality and this is my reality, and it's okay, and we can still live in peace.
Yeah.
You're seeing one perspective, one from one angle, and I'm seeing it from another. I loved that part.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And I love what people are sharing in the chat. I hope you all take a chance to go through and savor these. I'll be capturing them and putting them into the handout. Yes. Expressing, listening, attending to the observation, then the stories. Yeah, we human beings, we're storytellers. Go ahead, John.
Whoops. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with an example because that's such a hard one to see alternatives. I threw it in the chat, but there's some people who have like synesthesia thing where certain textures just they have a violent reaction to them, and maybe she like can't pick it up, and she actually is ashamed of herself that she can't pick it up. You know, like we have no idea what's going on with this person. So just by coming up with another reason takes away all the judgment. So
thank you.
Just an example.
Thanks,
Yeah,
John.
nice.
Deborah says she'll be taking away your game.
Oh.
Why else would they do that? Thank you. Thanks, John. You made a great contribution today. We'll probably steal that and start teaching it from now on. I'll try to remember to give you credit. We know so little, it really helps me to be humble. Yeah, thanks, Christine.
And Lisa?
So what I wrote in there was that she said, that seems presumptuous. And I thought, she is so judgmental. And instead I could think, I could just automatically think she must be hurting. And also be curious and ask her further or something, but that hasn't occurred to me. I've just thought, oh, she's just so judgmental of me.
Nice insight. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so we're coming around the bend here for the last couple of minutes. Anybody else got some advice for us of what you think would make your life more wonderful from now on in these classes? You can put that into the chat or raise your hand or send us an email and let us know your feedback. We got some feedback last week. Appreciate that. We try to learn from our mistakes. So our email address is radicalcompassion@gmail.com. That goes to both Jori and me. And so now.
And was John's quote, why else might they be doing that?
Yeah, I think that's right. Is that right, John?
That question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, why else would they do that is what I call the game, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Why will take us might take us straight to the need. What need are you hoping to meet when you leave your dog poop there in the park? And I really like that. And another way I often frame that is, what's their positive intention? They may not have a positive intention from my point of view, but from their point of view, that's the why they're doing it. They have a good reason. That would be Marshall's way of putting it. What's the good reason that person's doing that? So we're coming around the corner here, and I want to give you some links and make a couple of requests. So those of you who have been here before know that I recently wrote a book called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication. And we found out that there's lots of different ways that you can buy it and get free shipping. If you don't want to use Amazon, then there's some other choices on that link that I just sent you. You can get the book shipped to more than 100 countries for free. Allegedly, haven't actually tried it myself, but I got some feedback from friends in New Zealand that they were able to order the book that way. And this book is a fundraiser for the Center for Nonviolent Communication. That's the organization that certified Jori and me. And so we're doing all of our work as a fundraiser for them to help them survive the pandemic. Because it's really taken a toll on their financial well-being, because their main source of income has dried up, which are called international intensive trainings. So they're coming back online with some virtual ones, but there's nothing like an IIT, International Intensive Training. So if you want to donate directly to CNBC, so maybe you already bought 50 copies of the book or whatever, and you're tired of hearing this request, and you want to just donate to CNBC to support them, there's a link there. And so feel free to do that. And if you want to give us money directly to support our work, we will pay it forward to either CNBC or another. We give most of our money away that we make for the practice group that doesn't go to CNBC to scholarships for the Global South. For anybody who wants to attend CNBC or training with certified trainers in local areas, we like to just support people who couldn't otherwise afford that kind of training. So you can do that. And also, we are moving the resources, the videos. People ask, are you taping this? Can we watch it later? And yes, you can. I'm a little bit slow. I'm learning how to edit videos. I'm trying to edit out the fluff in the middle now. And so, but the videos will be at pathwaystoliberation.com. There, you can also start playing with the matrix in other ways if you would like. And there's lots of resources there, some YouTube videos, and I'll be adding, we had a book launch event weekend before last, and I'll be adding the videos for each of these skills as I finish editing them. And so the first ones that will go up will be presence and observing from a couple of other trainers. So you get to hear their experience and try their exercises as well. And next week, we will start building a bridge between observing and feelings. And so it's going to be kind of a mixture of two skills. And of course, we'll still be including presence. So it'll actually be growing the complexity of our brain. We're actually practicing something called neuroplasticity right now. Your brains are totally willing to learn new things. And so we're giving you lots of different ways to stretch your brain and integrate these skills so that you can have more peace and joy and fun in your life. And Jori,
Jim, there is a hand up, Lisa.
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa. Is that a fresh hand or an old hand? I think you're still on mute.
It seems
Yeah, I think that's an old hand, but if you want to unmute yourself, Lisa, go ahead. And then,
John, can you just say that sentence one more time? That question?
What? Sorry, me? Hi, what?
Yes. What was that question you asked?
Why
yourself?
else would they do that?
Thank you. And Jim, I'm sorry, I'm just missing so much. Where is the best place, most beneficial place for us to buy the book?
I would say,
or to buy a number of them to give to friends.
Yeah, if you want to buy a whole bunch and you live in the United States, then I'd probably go with Amazon. They'll probably, that's probably the least. They were on sale last time I saw them at Amazon. A lot of people kind of have a gag reaction to Amazon, but also if you scroll up through the links, there is a list of bookstores that you can choose. I'll put it back into the chat again at the very bottom of the chat.
Are there any that most benefit the spread of nonviolent communication?
I think it would be equal no matter where you buy it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
What about from the publisher, Jim?
No, they go through a distributor as well. So
okay,
no matter where you buy it, the proceeds from both the publisher and from Jim and Jori go to the to CNBC. And Juliana, and then Nikhilananda.
So Jim, my question is, when you observe something, fine, I'm observing, but isn't my mind automatically going to go and make a meaning of it?
Seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, realizing that that's what our minds do, that opens up another perspective on things. But yes, it is our mind that's making that design.
Yeah, Our brains are storytelling machines, and we're telling ourselves a story so that we can try to predict how to first stay safe, and secondly, how to get our needs met and maybe contribute to other people's needs as well. That's just what brains do. Brains are trying to meet needs.
Yeah, and that is okay. And that is okay, Jim. I mean, there's nothing bad about it.
Yeah, it's just natural. It's just the way you're hooked up. Yeah.
It's an observation.
Yeah. Jori, you're kind of in that underwater thing. It's hard to hear you. I want to just
I was going to suggest that we go ahead, and since it's at the bottom of the hour for us, I know in India.
Yeah, I think I know what you're trying to say, but we can't hear you. So we're gonna formally close the meeting, and then I'll stick around for a little while and answer some questions. But I want to close the. I want to honor people's time that we're expecting 2 hours, and so we're done now. Please practice this week. Continue to practice the skills of presence and observing. Create your own practice. Just notice what you're doing, and especially when you're involved in conversations with loved ones and conversations with yourself. And we'll be back next week and play some more games.
And if you can leave your hands up, and after we close out the program, we can still answer questions or some comments.
Yeah, and then we'll have a little.
I did want to just tell Lisa, sorry I'm interrupting. I